was gonna be down here, so I had to go down to Lakeside for a couple of weeks. And come back too.
Well,
75 this year.
I've been another one, I got a free.
I would say
Are you glad to
Limited receiving.
Free not to build it.
I was gonna say, you were saying Arizona, but don't mind it.
30% of that.
Second start.
Well, there's the alarm. Good for us.
And that happened after.
So call the board meeting to order here on the December 16th. Thank you for everybody for coming, or the ones that could make it. We have the agenda. Did all the board members have a chance to look over the agendas? Any changes or corrections, or if everything is okay, then we need a motion just so we can proceed. That'd be great.
Chairman Laney, I'd like to make a motion that we approve the agenda as published.
I second.
A second. We have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Thank you. Public comments, not on the agenda.
Cameron Dexter, Citizens for a Better Flathead. Our office is 137 South Main in Kalispell. I had a question that I'll post as a comment. The interlocal agreement, which I know you're going to talk about later, has been extended, and I am wondering how that affects the Flathead Lake Club development with that service agreement. Does that change anything regarding the service agreement? Does it change when the capacity full build out, the funding, anything along those lines? I know you can't answer questions, I'm just posing
Thank you. Any other?
Go ahead.
No, okay. Jennifer Tipton, 123 Crabtree Lane. I had a neighbor that lives closer to the ponds contact me the other day, and she said that there's an alarm that's been going off late at night, and it sounds like it's coming from the area of the ponds. So I wasn't sure if you guys have alarms over there, or something with construction or what, but it's been, I've heard it too, and it's been several different nights. I just didn't think that it was anything. She lives closer to them, and so that's where she thought the noise was coming from, so I just thought I'd pass that along.
Yeah, I mean, we don't, but maybe the contractor may, so we'll check them.
Okay.
Thank you. Any other comments?
Yes, Mary Flowers, Citizens for a Better Flathead. Following up again on the contract that you had with various names, it's been under Flathead Lake Club or the Territory 1889. With your amendment to the ARPA funding, which is on your agenda later, it looks like that would require amendments to that agreement as well. And I would like to know if your intent is to bring amendments back to this board for consideration, and what the status is currently of the infrastructure that they've committed to building, and have you received that funding? It would be really good to have that information available for the public so that we can totally understand the status of that contract and the work on that is being contracted under it, and how it will come back to this board for amendments, so that there can be public comment on it.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments?
I have a written comment from Kate Droll at 501 Archery Road in Lakeside.
Okay.
As new members join the Lakeside County Water and Sewer Board, I want to highlight certain commitments made by the district. LCWSD is dedicated to serving the community, planning thoughtfully for the future, fostering recruitment and leadership, maintaining ongoing honest and open conversation with its customers, practicing stewardship of the region's natural resources and the environment, ensuring equitable distribution of operation and maintenance costs, operating with efficiency, and managing system expansion responsibly. In addition, as a public service organization, the district has promised to maintain public trust, conduct all business with integrity and professionalism, and protect and respect customers' interests in local and regional decision-making. These commitments provide a framework for the board's decisions and serve as a reminder of the values and responsibilities the district has pledged to uphold for the community it serves.
Thank you. Does she live in the district?
She does not, but she was the one that was sitting over here last.
Oh, okay. Okay, moving down to the consent agenda. So the three items on the consent agenda are the November minutes, the financial report, and bill approval. And as always, if any of the board members have any particular question, we can pull it out and further discuss it. But if nobody has any question on it, if we want to just vote on it, we can move the three items so that we can get to the rest of the business. So we need a motion.
Motion out, put a motion out that we need to accept these.
Okay, we have a motion.
Second.
Second, and a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. Thank you. Old business, we don't have anything. New business. Amendment to the interlocal agreement number 2. Rodney?
Yeah, so in the original agreement with the Flathead County of the septic receiving facility, we had a deadline. You can see here in section 8, the whereas of the agreement currently requires the district to complete construction of the septic receiving treatment facility by December 31st, 26. And the amendment to this agreement basically says now, therefore, in consideration of mutual promises herein, the parties intended to be legally bound hereby agree the following constitutes a restatement of the terms and conditions of the agreement. And so the amendment to section 8, construction completion deadline, replacement, and this is, the Flathead County has already, they drew this up, and we just need to entertain it ourselves and then pass it back to them. But it's a replacement of the deadline. The first sentence of section 8 is hereby deleted, and it's entirely and amended to read as follows. District shall complete construction of the septic receiving treatment facility by December 31st, 2029. Except as modified herein, all remaining language in section 8 remains unchanged. And so basically with the delays that have come along that we knew were there all along, we just finally, we had a meeting 2 weeks ago. Thanks, Will, set it right on that.
Will do. There you are. See you, have a good day.
Have a good day, Will.
Yeah, and so basically we talked about that. They went back, talked to the commissioners about it, and they agreed to extend our deadline to December 31st, 2026. And so we as a board, recommending that we do pass that so we can continue moving forward with Flathead County.
As a reminder, can you just explain maybe one more time a little bit what the reasons are for the delays that we encountered?
Yeah, correct. So there's two factors. One was the groundwater discharge permit through the DEQ permitting process, and going through that process took a whole lot longer than we thought. The DEQ wanted us to really do a lot more extensive study on the groundwater unconfined aquifer. So our hydrologist, spent a year and a half basically with those test wells and looking at all that, and then the DEQ reviews that, and you come back with questions. That process just took a lot longer than expected, and then with lawsuits extending that further with the DEQ before they gave us a final approval on that part of it, we couldn't continue to move forward with our second phase as far as picking the treatment plant and that kind of stuff until we had the permits from the discharge permit. So all of those things kicked the can down the road, and so they were very aware of that all along. It's just we just finally now are getting around to saying we should amend the agreement.
Do Do you think it could also affect the approval of the treatment side by DEQ, eventually the final approval of that?
Could what?
Or did it have to do with it, the actual, the plant right now is under review by the state, by DEQ, or, and
The
are they
second
taking additional time to phase two?
Yeah, well, I think they're taking additional time with everything that they do with us because of the, you know, the scrutiny over the project. They want to cross their Ts and dot their Is, and so everything is taking a bit longer than what it would normally take in previous type situations as far as the DEQ goes.
Okay. Any other questions?
Starting to come up to speed on some of this stuff, where we're at and everything. So we're doing an extension of 3 years, possibility that we would beat this deadline, so maybe we end up being done by August of 2029, or, so that allows for us to hopefully be done quicker, or maybe we want to be done quicker. So we're adding 3 years, so that's kind of a worst case scenario, is that what you're thinking, Rodney?
There's safety in this,
There's
in this
safety
number.
in it.
So we expect to be done with the treatment plant by really December of '28.
Okay,
And so there is a waiting period for it to be operational. You know, you can become operational and so on. So by
Right.
the time everything is finalized though.
okay,
So we're just giving us a safety factor in that.
about a year of safety.
Yes.
Okay, for unforeseen circumstances that
Exactly.
could arise.
Yeah.
All right.
And those words are in the agreement also, you know, as far as the county, and that's why they
Right.
were
Okay,
receptive to it.
and then one more question, may not be even related, it was a question from the public, I'm sorry, I don't know your name. Cameron, you'd asked about an interlocal agreement. Is this the interlocal agreement she was kind of asking about?
She's asking, I think, about the Discovery Land Agreement, which is a separate agreement.
It's a separate, okay, I'm coming up to speed.
Thanks for clarifying.
I figured you'd have all this figured out.
No, I don't, no, yeah, I'm not quite there
Good
yet.
questions.
I know stuff about the dump, but I'm learning here now.
Is this amendment something that is new in the industry, or I'm surprised that this is not automatically included in every contract?
Well, it was included in the contract, it just said that
Making it more broad, no, I understand.
yeah, that this process was available to us in the agreement. We made sure of that because we knew there would be setbacks, they knew there would probably be setbacks, and so we made sure that they said basically that they would be willing to work with us, you know, due to unforeseen circumstances, so. And not to mention, this wasn't a surprise to them, because we've had, you know, like bi-monthly meetings all the way along. This was just, we were finally kind of getting to it once we approved the facility plan for second phase.
Right, yeah.
So once we, you know, kind of had more details, we're able to kind of maybe put a target on it a little clearer to be able to do this.
Any other questions from the board, or? Otherwise, we're gonna.
And I like interlocal agreements, I've done a lot of interlocal agreements over the years, I've seen the extensions of it, what I like, the good thing about it is it keeps that relationship going between the county and the district, or the city, or whatever communities out there, so, keeps us all on the same page of an end goal, so they're very valuable. So, hopefully, the county commissioners will sign off on it.
Yeah, well, they're the ones that drew it up.
Okay.
Yeah, so they're the ones that picked the date and sent it to us, so
Okay,
they have already communicated that.
great,
And you know, the whole agreement is set up that way, really, to communicate through the whole process
yeah,
and continue to communicate, so it is
okay.
good that way.
With that, we open it up to the public for comments.
I'll go first. Again, Cameron Dexter. I'm kind of reiterating the concerns I brought up earlier, but just with this interlocal agreement, with this extension, I'm concerned slash I'm not understanding how funding will come in. I saw in the agreement that some funding is reserved until the completion of the project, but will this mean that there's more labor hours overall for the extension of the agreement? How will that be paid for? Will that affect ratepayers? Those are kind of my concerns on that. And then, let me think, was there something else? Oh, yes, and then I saw on your website before this was approved by the commissioners that it was updated to say 2029, and I just felt that was putting the cart before the horse a little bit, as the commissioners hadn't yet approved it in a formal meeting. I think that's all for me. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Any additional comment?
Yes, Mary Flowers. Again, I feel like you have not provided adequate information for the public to be able to comment meaningfully on this, and I would like to ask you to table this until the next board meeting so we have opportunity to hear your response to questions. In particular, I'm also concerned that within this agreement is a default clause where you would be responsible for paying back essentially, what, $24 million should the septic receiving station not be operational. So one's nodding your head, one's shaking your head.
It's just, hearing some of those things are hard to hear because they're not true, and they're not, so we'll let you make your comment, but it's sometimes hard to control that head.
Well, you're welcome to move your head, but I would like to, I'm looking at the interlocal agreement here, which I'm understanding includes those clauses, so if again, it's hard to make meaningful public comment if what I'm looking at you're saying isn't correct. I would like to understand also, you're talking about providing a service, 3 years later than you had originally anticipated? What does that do to your commitment to the rates you would be charging for septic waste, which are part of this contract? It seems like the only thing you're amending in here is the end date for compliance, but there are other dates and there's other amounts in here which is not clear to the public and the ratepayers how this is going to impact them. And I think in particular, if, for example, your permit was not approved, ratepayers need to understand what the liability is, and there's not enough information here for us to be able to ask questions and comments. So my comment is to request that you table this and allow us to provide more information so that we can understand the context of what an amendment means.
Thank you. Additional comment?
I have one from Kate Droll at 501 Archery Road. I recognize that the county commissioners have agreed to a time extension for the septic receiving and treatment facility, and I agree that the board should accept it. Given the scale of the project, the original construction timeline was not realistic. Accepting the extension is practical. However, continuing further down this path, I ask the board, particularly with new members now in place, to pause and consider the longer-term consequences of these decisions. The question is not whether a septic receiving and treatment facility is needed in the valley, it clearly is, but whether the location and scope of this project are truly in the best interest of the district, the community LCWUSD serves, or even the county as a whole, given the potential environmental impacts to Flathead Lake and surrounding resources. I understand the concern the district may believe that it is, quote, too far along to reconsider the facility and or its location because agreements have been signed and resources have already been spent. However, decisions about long-term infrastructure should not be driven solely by past expenditures. The fact that costs have already been incurred does not eliminate the board's responsibility to evaluate whether the current path remains the best option going forward. Continuing a project simply because money has been spent rather than because it is the most appropriate, lowest risk, and most responsible solution reflects a sunk cost approach that can increase long-term environmental, financial, and operational consequences for the district and its ratepayers. The current site is not centrally located near Kalispell, where much of the waste originates, and it does not provide easy access. Instead, it places environmental risk and long-term responsibility on a much smaller community. The district serves about 810 households and a handful of businesses, call that less than 2,000 persons, yet it is being positioned to process waste on behalf of the broader Flathead Valley. There are also unresolved environmental concerns with this location. The site lies in or near an elevated flood risk area based on FEMA mapping. It raises ongoing concerns about leachate and groundwater contamination in an area with shallow groundwater. Septic contains compounds such as hydrogen sulfide and phosphorus, which pose risks to local water systems if contaminants fail over time. The project also results in the loss of wetland ecosystem, affecting wildlife and adjacent conservation easement impacts that are permanent rather than temporary. As reiterated above, as a public service organization, LCWSD has committed to maintaining public trust, conducting business responsibility, and with integrity and preserving customers' interests in local and regional decision making. The district has also stated that it wants to increase public trust and improve communication with the community. Providing clear, direct answers to the broader public on these issues would meaningfully support those goals. With that in mind, I respectfully ask the board to consider and publicly address the following. How does sitting a regional septic facility in a flood risk area align with LCWSD's stewardship obligations and protection of Flathead Lake? Why or how is this site appropriate for this type of facility designed to serve countywide needs, and how were alternative sites evaluated? How are the long-term risks of leachate, groundwater contamination, and wetland loss being accounted for, not just during the operation, but decades into the future? How does the current project structure preserve Lakeside residents' interest in regional decision-making, given the scale of service beyond contemplated? And lastly, how is the district the appropriate body for providing a regional septic facility?
Thank you.
I would like to comment also, actually, if I could still. Public comment. Thank you,
Go
Jennifer
ahead.
Tipton, 123 Crabtree Lane. I agree with the other commenters on this, and I guess I would just add that I too would ask that you hold off on agreeing to this today, considering, I mean, the original agreement was, or the deadline was 2026. Now you're pushing it out 3 years. That's a long time. You don't have to rush into it. So if you could just give the public one more month to kind of get their questions answered and look over the agreement. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. With that, we're closing the public comment. I guess, any other questions from the board, or with the comments made, or, go ahead.
That one letter that was read mentioned that we only serve 800 households.
Yeah, I don't think that some of those.
Yeah, some of those
Not
facts
correct.
are not.
We
yeah.
serve, my understanding, over 3,000.
Well, we serve like 1,050, but then we also serve summer.
That's, you have
And
to add
so
all of
that's
that
another
into it.
375. And,
Yeah.
yeah.
to our numbers where about household businesses all combined,
All combined close to 1,500.
close to 1,500?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
I was thinking 3,000.
If this is not appropriate, please tell me, but what do you see as the possible, being devil's advocate, negative that could pass by recommending this? I can't.
There's nothing,
That's why I thought I was missing something
no,
perhaps.
there's absolutely,
This is
all
100%.
we're doing is extending this. It's not affecting anything else in the agreement. And that's why they said it's specific to just section 8. Everything else remains the same, the funding remains the same, a lot of the deadlines and things like that they talk about in there are
That's what I thought.
yeah, completely separate. It doesn't change anything in the direction of anything else that's going on in our project outside of that.
Well, based on that, I don't see any reason for tabling it for another month, and would like to move that we pass it,
Okay, we have a motion.
the amended.
Motion for vote?
Yeah.
Yep.
Second that?
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Thank you. I just want to make a comment too, just, you know, I know it keeps repeating everything and I mean, for Tim Klusner that has not been here as long maybe, but he will learn over time, I'm sure. I mean, the steps we have gone through from initial testing, from the engineers with DEQ involvement, with everybody else that has been involved in this project, and before the county when they were selecting the site out here, when they joined with us, when they basically approached us. So it's gone through so many steps, and I believe it's done right. And we certainly appreciate the comments, but some of these answers or some of these comments are pertaining almost from 4 or 5 years ago when this initially started, when we started the actual process of this. So it's just so late in the steps, and I don't see anything that we have done at this point that would make me stop on this at this point, because we're doing the right steps. DEQ is still working on all of it with us. We're having the right people involved, and I think it will be a good project at the end, and everybody will appreciate it. With that, we're moving down to resolution 2511, a resolution to adopt an alternative project delivery contract.
Yeah, if you remember last meeting, let me get this moving. So the last meeting, we approved basically the conceptual process to move forward with this based on the letter from RPA, our engineers. And so that led us into this. So we worked with bond counsel to come up with this resolution 2511. This really don't have anything to do with funding, but we work with bond counsel when we have resolutions to write, just because they're good at writing resolutions. And basically the resolution states the statutory determinations of moving forward with a GCCM, which is a general contractor management type thing, and that's for the general contractor will go out, you know, it'll go out, be advertised just like normal. Contractors will send in their, you know, if they say, hey, we want to be a part of this, and then it'll go through our engineers and us and you, because we named you on there, part of the process, Tim.
Yep.
To select that contractor. And so that, basically that's what this resolution is. It's a resolution just naming that process of these are the criteria. The project is of significant size, scope, and complexity with a current estimated budget of over $40 million. You know, that's why it says over $40 million, because there's not a specific number to be held to on that, so to speak. In consideration of the nature of this project and based on the recommendation of RPA, the board hereby determines as follows in accordance with section 18.2502. Basically, the project has significant schedule ramification, and using the GCCM contract is necessary to meet critical deadlines. In making this determination, the board notes that using the GCCM methodology, equipment and construction materials can be procured earlier, which provides cost benefits, avoiding inflationary cost increase as well as efficiency in construction, by not having construction crews waiting on critical pieces of equipment. In making this determination, the board has considered that construction cost savings are likely to result from early project completion, and there are likely to be increased opportunities for generating revenue as a result of the early project completion, since the project will significantly increase the district's capacity and allow the district to connect and serve additional customers. And completion of the project is a significant benefit to the customers in the district, and demonstrable public benefits result from less time of construction. And so, I'm gonna go on and read the whole thing, but it's basically so that by passing this resolution, we can go down that road, we can advertise, we're basically saying we wanna go down that road and do that, and accept that. That will give us permission to our engineers to start that advertising process to get those bids in, and we can look at those and find the right contractor to do that.
So again, JCCM or GCCM basically gives a contractor basically early, if you want to say early access of being part of the design team, rather than bringing him at the end and saying, hey, we could have done this differently. That helps in the process. We did the same thing just at the airport with the same process, and we thought it was a good process. It gave us a good quality product at the end, because it has, again, the contractor involved early on that can either say, hey, we could do it this way, or we could save you some money or time. And so that's what this basically sets up, that we can proceed with that process. So if you have any other questions,
Yeah.
please go ahead.
So this allows somebody like Swank, for example, or Hammerquist or Martell or somebody to kind of be that overall sightseer of everything for us. Work with Pesha, figure out what we need, time flows, dates, things like that, materials. I mean, it makes sense to me. Are we, the current stuff that's going on, we have a same type of a setup with that at this point in time?
No, that we do not. Yeah, that was just a contract, so the design bid. So they designed it, got it approved, and then went out to bid.
And then went out to
And
bid.
so Swank was the chosen contractor on that, and so they are building it. The difference with this is that, you know, in that case, they weren't involved early, right? They weren't involved in the design, and so
Yeah.
that's where we feel this is a better fit to do that. We would like them involved in the design, and we might be able to save some time. Like, we could actually potentially start processes, order material ahead of time, so that we aren't, you know, the inflation don't come into play, as far as equipment, things like that. But also just in designing, you know, when they're involved, they might see something that, from a contractor standpoint, say, you know, hey, if you do it this way, we could save, you know. But also, we don't have, the way those contracts will be written is that we don't have to stick with that contractor when we get to the end. It's not a guarantee that they get the project as a whole. It's just having that they still go out to bid at the end and still have to bid on that project. So,
Gotcha.
So this does not affect at all the contractor's need to stay on the project. They can't walk away from it either.
yeah, not from this part, not from the design aspect of it, being the design general on it. Yeah.
Do you know, is the contractor that would be selected, would he be paid actually to do that work?
You know, I don't think so on this one. You know, they do it different ways, and I've talked to Brad about that. He said sometimes that is the case where they get paid for it, but sometimes not. And I think in this case it's not.
So there's no
Because-
incentive, sorry.
Well, their incentive is to hopefully get
Get the final.
the final bid in the end. Right.
But this resolution's not allocating
No,
that to it.
this is just allocating that, giving us the right to go select.
Go select, start that process of vetting out
Yep,
who may be the best fit with PESHA,
exactly.
because I'm assuming what we've done is we're kind of learning that there's some efficiencies that could be made
Yep.
better for the process.
Yep.
I know you don't wanna, when you build a home, you wanna have an architect and a builder probably sit down together. Becomes a mess when the architect says, build it this way, the builder says, you can't build it that way.
Exactly.
So it makes a lot of sense to me, okay?
Okay, with that, there's no more comments from the board, I'll open it to the public. If you have any comments, on that particular issue. Okay, thank you. Well, is there any other questions, or?
We need a proposal for,
We need a motion now.
okay, I move that we adopt the alternative project delivery contract for 2511.
I will second that.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Thank you. Consideration of approval of engineer's recommendation for award of SBR sequencing battery reactor equipment manufacturer.
Yeah, and again, I know, in your board packets, you would have had all this, and hopefully had time to look at some of the, and I know, Tim, you're playing catch up on some of it, but, we, last board meeting, or 2 board meetings ago, I think we had to go out to the manufacturers of these. The SBR system was chosen by our board to go down, right, as the facility plan to build an SBR for the treatment process. And so we, our engineers prepared the documents to send out and advertise for manufacturers to submit, and then to also come in and there was four vendors that submitted. We picked 3 of those vendors to come in and actually individually and do their presentations to our engineers. Myself and Mark joined us on that. And so the 3 that came in were Aqua Aerobics, Xylem, and Fluidine. We sat, they were all very good, to tell you the truth. Fluidine kind of missed the mark on their presentation a bit. They really didn't bring their engineers, didn't come that prepared. Although their submittal in the end was a little better than their presentation. But ultimately, they all build a decent SBR plant, right? But they all have little different things that pertain to them. So after their presentations, then basically the engineers, they got a better understanding of a few things that we wanted them to include in their bid package for the SBR plant. And then that's what this is. So they had a deadline to get their bids into us. We got the engineers got those bids in. We got together with our engineers and scored those bids basically. And you can see there, Aqua Aerobics scored 88, Sanitaire scored 74, Fluidine 63. And the scoring criteria is based on different things, the original submittal portion, the interview, the quality of the interview. You can see there 10 out of 10 for this one here. This is Aqua Aerobics, the one that had the 88. Technical operation evaluation, overall system design, operation maintenance, cost evaluation, implementation versus O&M. And basically, so they're all 3 here with their scores. Some did better in some areas than others, but ultimately, we, as far as our operators that were in, or that are going to be operating this plant, they were in on this also. as we sat through those presentations and we went through the bids when they were received, we just hands down, Aqua Aerobics has everything we're looking for, from the backup after it's built. They build these all over the world, so they really have, including whitefish. And theirs is a little different than whitefish, but what will be nice also with whitefish is that there are shareable aspects to that, transducers and small items and things that we could potentially share with whitefish. And we had toured whitefish plant, and we really were impressed by it early on. So we also, the Fluidine Corporation, we toured that before they came and did the presentations. We went to Polson and toured their plant, which was built in 2019, if I remember right. There's things, we were a little less impressed with that, being that it was newer, and we had quite a few questions coming out of that one. But we still wanted to hear them out and drill down. But so I guess in the end, we would, we would like to move forward with Aqua Aerobics. And then what that means is that our engineer, if we vote that in today, our engineer will begin designing along with them, really drilling down to the nitty-gritty of things with the SBR, and that'll become part of the process going forward, because design can take up to a year, to design and approval process through the DEQ. So we need to keep that ball rolling.
And one of the items was the Fluidine. I think it turned out that they needed, with their design, an extra basin.
Yeah.
And basins are, to us in Lakeside, they're expensive because we have to do ground treatments, ground improvements.
Mm-hmm.
And so the other two were both, and I think Aqua Aerobics is the most used one in Montana also, throughout the state by far. And so we felt very comfortable with that, again, with the cost savings that we could see and ongoing operational costs. Aqua Aerobics was just the best. And then on top of it, it's obviously from Rockford, Illinois. Just so happens that's where Kathy's from originally, so
Small world.
we had no idea about that. But it's interesting how they were definitely well prepared. They were definitely, and again, we had, just like Rodney mentioned, we had Cody in here too, and the other operators.
Mm-hmm.
They had gone with and without Rodney to the different plants and talked to different operators and RPA, to the engineer, just to come up with something where they will feel comfortable operating it and understanding the system and knowing where they could go if they needed input or help from somebody close by. Again, Whitefish is close by. There's others there that we have looked at. I think is the one in Livingston. That one was different.
Livingston was the Xylem
Correct.
one, but it was a
Cobbled together kind of.
it was a cobbled together system, because it wasn't a brand new system all the way through. They already had a system, and they came in and they kind of retrofitted it with Xylem system. And so, yeah, the operators there didn't have a whole lot of good to say about the manufacturer themselves and their support system, but also it really comes back to the engineering firm too that was there and what they told Xylem they wanted.
Yeah.
So, but it was a hard one to tour and see it, because it was kind of a mess the way they designed it. They tried to reuse buildings and stuff and adapt things to buildings, and so. But again, Xylem, they know what they're doing. It's just there's things operationally that we don't like either with some of their support systems. We have Xylem pumps. They're called flight pumps that Xylem manufactures in our sewer lift stations, and the support is kind of rough with them.
Recently, certainly.
Yeah,
Recently,
recently,
yeah.
since 2020, really, it's been tough. So that came into play when we were scoring these. Definitely, that's where you take everything into consideration, right? Not just one. We didn't just take price into consideration, although it is a consideration when you start talking. Most of them are all pretty similar as far as what it costs for the components of an SBR. But concrete is a whole nother issue, right?
Yeah.
So if one says, well, we're gonna recommend 3 basins, and one says 4 basins, well, why is it 4 basins, and why does your process take 4 basins to do that? And then your basins are bigger, and so
Yeah.
then, so all that, so when you start adding the dollars of ground improvements and concrete and all that, well, that can change things, so.
I actually went online and researched this company, going back to the history of what they make and what they don't make and how they do it. And it just made very clear that that's the right decision, and perhaps you find that interesting. Maybe, so
Yeah.
I would suggest that they're very well, they're,
They really are, their
Oh.
team, they brought their #1 people in, I mean, their engineers in here, and to do their presentation, and it's so thorough. We learned a ton through those presentations, I mean, our operators and myself, through all 3 of them, we learned things. But in the end, we really feel aqua aerobics is gonna really be a good program, and somebody that has the capacity to move forward. We're entertaining and still exploring other options to this treatment process, so even though we chose the SBR, we're still,
You mean final treatment?
final
That's-
treatment things that we
Right.
could potentially add on to an SBR. And this company definitely fits that profile and know exactly what and how to do those kind of things. So all of those things, they come into.
So if modifications need to be made down the road to help water quality, things like that,
Yeah.
these are gonna be, you feel that aqua aerobics is gonna be the best fit
Definitely.
to be able to massage that process to get really a better product,
Yep, Yep.
the best product, I
Yep.
should say. That's
Yep.
what we all want.
yep.
I mean, they presented UV options, they presented even filters. At the end, they have definitely the ideas, and if I remember right, this is the firm also that is operating their plants that they build in conjunction with an existing city or
Yeah.
municipality.
Yeah.
So, in other words, their treatment systems that they develop, they're actually tied into an existing system, and they build them at their own cost. And then when they have improvements or changes, they build these new plants for them, basically themselves, and then they run sewage, regular, not a, what do you call it, a fantasy flow or something, just they actually take the real,
Run the real
what
product
happens
through
out
it
of a
and learn
city.
from that.
Correct, and run,
Yeah.
it was interesting.
Yeah, their
Listen to that.
own testing facility is at an actual wastewater treatment facility
Yeah.
plant that, for a city, for a
Yeah.
municipality. And so, they're just a well-oiled machine, and they know what they're doing. And we were really, in the end, real confident with that.
I would just like to make a statement for the record, if I might. The more and more we discuss this type of thing, I think it becomes evident how many additional hours you two put in to make sure this is done and done correctly. And I think it's important that the public knows that, they're a step above
Appreciate it.
whatever
you.
needs to be done.
Thank you.
And more than us. Yeah, any other questions from the board, otherwise I'll open it up to the public, if you have any questions. Feel free, if you have any questions.
Not a question so much as a comment, but I will start off with saying I do appreciate you picking the one that you feel is best for additional add-ons, that you're talking the UV, and that I know originally you guys had talked about the UV disinfectant. Early on, you had talked that you were going to consider the MBBR. I know Rodney had spoken to the media that you guys were considering, or MBBR. I had really hoped that you would consider it more meaningfully. I really didn't see where it was truly given meaningful consideration. As someone who will be drinking water out of a well a quarter mile from where this is going into the groundwater, in an area where the water is all very connected, I I mean, I just would have liked to have seen the most advanced from the beginning, and I know when you picked the SBR, really the deciding factor seemed to be the cost, and not because it gave the most advanced level of treatment. I don't want to drink PFAS or pharmaceuticals, chemicals. I mean, you're gonna be taking septage from across the entire county. There's no telling what people are putting down their septic systems. I know you can tell oil or gas, but there's a lot more out there that I don't want to drink. And my comment is, I really wish you would have given the MBBR more meaningful consideration, and then the UV, all that more advanced. I would like to see that from the outset, because I mean, once that's contaminated, it's contaminated, and I don't want to drink contaminated water. And our experts say it will contaminate my well and the surface waters all around where I live. That irrigation ditch, and I know you rely on DEQ as, you know, an expert. The permit writer, Melinda Horn, when I spoke to her, she didn't even understand that the irrigation ditch right next to where those basins are is the groundwater. It is. She thought maybe that was just water that's trapped there when the lake is high, when the groundwater, you know, when the surface waters are high. That is where the groundwater surfaces, and that's how a lot of the water in that area is. That pond 4, there's a lot of areas when the groundwater's high, it comes up out of the ground. And, you know, I know that's why you guys had to do such extensive testing with DEQ, and where there was only certain areas those basins could go, and why you had to lower the discharge from 340,000 gallons per day down to 200,000 gallons per day, is because there's a lot of limiting factors. And I believe that is because this area is not the best for this system. I truly believe it is not. I've been very vocal about this. So you say this late in the game, I've been screaming from the rooftops from the beginning, because I don't want to drink contaminated water. Maybe to you it's not a big deal, because then you can just get us all on your water system. I paid a lot for my well, and I enjoy not contaminated water. So that's my comment. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments?
I have one from Kate Droll at 501 Archery Road. Regarding the SBR equipment manufacturer, it appears that LCWSD is considering the same manufacturer used in Whitefish. If that understanding is correct, I also understand that the board has toured the Polson wastewater treatment facility, and I appreciate that effort to gain firsthand insight into how similar systems operate. Given the potential environmental impacts to Flathead Lake and the long-term ratepayer implications, I respectfully ask the board to consider touring additional comparable facilities to show how lessons learned from those site visits are informing the district's plans moving forward. Providing this information would help the public better understand this decision and would be consistent with the district's stated commitments to maintaining public trust, preserving customer interests, conducting business responsibly with integrity, engaging in open and honest communication, and practicing stewardship of the region's natural resources. To help the public better understand this decision, it would be helpful for the board to clarify what specific lessons, both positive and negative, were learned from the Polson facility and from other comparable wastewater and septic treatment facilities. Which aspects of those projects are being relied upon or replicated by the district, and which elements are initially or intentionally different? What challenges, operational issues, or unanticipated impacts were encountered elsewhere, and how LCWSD plans to avoid or mitigate similar issues? how differences in scale, location, site conditions, and community needs between Lakeside and other facilities factor into system design and performance expectations. What monitoring, maintenance, and oversight practices from other facilities are being adopted here, and what improvements or modifications are planned for Lakeside. How experiences from other facilities informed the district's decisions regarding cost control, operational efficiency, environmental protection, adaptability, and long-term responsibility. By answering and addressing these questions, the board can demonstrate its commitment to stewardship of the regional's critical water resources and help community understand how Flathead Lake will be protected for the long term. Continuing forward without fully addressing these larger questions undermines the public trust the board has said it wants to build. Thoughtful, transparent responses will help the community understand not just what decisions are being made, but why.
Thank you. Anything you have a comment on, or? On that particular-
Well, I'll just comment on, a lot of, for one, we've already chosen an SBR as our system going forward, and so this stuff has been, we've had public hearings, we've had, informational gathering, we've talked this through. The board has chosen the SBR system, and, there's talk, Jennifer mentioned that MBBR, I think what she's referencing in an article is an MBR, which we had mentioned that we are continuing to look at treatment possibilities after the SBR. So we are continuing that. Our engineers are working on that. We've talked with these three manufacturers about that in our discussions, and that's what I mentioned earlier about that aqua aerobics is the best situation if we choose to go down that road through our discovery period of that, because they work with that kind of stuff. They manufacture that kind of stuff. The other two, they tend to go outside of themselves to try and, with some kind of subcontractor to do that kind of stuff. So aqua aerobics is a system that they're used to adding things to an SBR plant to accomplish specific goals of whatever that might be. There's SBR plants that discharge directly into surface water. There's SBR plants that, do industrial waste. And so there's other things you add on to an SBR plant if you want to accomplish a certain goal. So I think that's what you're referencing, because an MBBR is something we looked at way in the beginning as an actual plant. So again, we've already chosen an SBR, and even with her comments with Kate, a lot of her comments pertain to the fact of, the public being involved, or the public knowing, what's coming. We can't possibly answer every question that the public has about some of these individual, intricate little things of what we found at the plant down in Polson, for instance. It's just, they can listen to the minutes, whatever, but I mean, those were just things for our operators to go down operationally, see how it looked, see if it's clean, see if the operators were happy with the system, those kind of things. It's just a part that plays into this process. So there's all of these things will be online with the minutes. They're posted online right now, and in fact, their full reports are posted online from each manufacturer. So the public is welcome to read those things, whether they go there, don't read them.
Can you clarify where that would be from?
Sorry, we're talking with the board right now. So there's a lot of information available to the public out there in there. And so this is to simply pick the actual SBR manufacturer, which the board told me to go out and do, right? And so that's what I did.
I think also maybe it needs to be understood that each of these systems individually, they would treat the sewage the same way. I mean, they are slightly different blowers over slightly different bases, there were slightly different skimmers, and I mean, there's little minutia things that some of them work better in cold weather, some of them work better in desert areas, and et cetera. So we, basically, each of these three systems will achieve, or has told us, they would achieve the treatment that the others would. So there's not one of them that will make it better than the other, better quality or whatnot. None of these SBRs would, but what Rodney explained already correctly, the aqua aerobics is the system that just has it in-house where they have additional treatment steps afterwards that can be included or added to that would potentially bring it up to a higher quality treatment than the other two, which would have to go outside and team up with another firm. And so we felt like that was also a part that make them to be the top choice at the end, I guess. So, and we're relying obviously heavily at the RPA, the engineers. They have worked extensively with this firm in the past too. They have other projects again, including Whitefish, where they worked with them, and they have been very satisfied with their support and their operational knowledge and all that they participate with.
And Whitefish, the plant operators and have really had high marks to say about their support through the whole process, the training, getting it up and running, that whole thing. So all those things play a part in saying that we feel that's the best.
Yeah, and for us again, just to point out, Lakeside, even before we go this direction with this treatment plant, we had awards in the past from national awards for our treatment site that is currently out there. That site has been there for 40 years. I mean, we have always looked for the best, and we always try to do the best that we can. We have, yeah, I guess this is still a surprise somewhat to us, this process, but overall, this board, since the beginning, has been doing everything we can to protect Flathead Lake and surrounding areas, certainly. With that, public comments
I just had a question on where to locate the reports, that was all. I can ask it afterwards.
should be online, yeah.
Well, yeah, just go
On
online.
your website or?
We're on the RPA
Yeah.
page.
It's on the agenda.
Oh, all the presentations are?
All of it's
Oh,
there,
thank you.
Should be there. Are there
Great.
any other questions?
Next to those arrows.
right there.
Perfect,
Are there
thank
any
you.
other questions from the board, or?
No. We're selecting equipment manufacturer. Trying to figure out if we're gonna do a Ford or a Chevy or Dodge.
That's really it.
I wasn't here for the selection of the process, but I am here for the equipment manufacturer.
Okay. Make a motion, or who wants to pick it?
I make a motion, move that we, place for vote consideration of the engineering, election, I almost got to the election, sorry, consideration for the engineering recommendation for the sequencing batch reactor.
I said,
Sorry, that said nothing.
A motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Thank you. Moving down to resolution to call for special purpose district election conducted by mail.
Okay,
Is
so,
that Rebecca?
yeah, this is the first step in the election process. So this is just allowing the citizens of the district to vote by mail in the event that an election is required for the 2 seats that will be open.
And so this is required by the Flathead County because they're the ones that handle the election. And so this is in correlation with the MCA rules of conducting an election. So
And may I ask, what are the triggers that requires that election for state law?
So there are 2 seats open. So in the event that 2 candidates file for the positions,
Mm-hmm.
then that will not trigger an election because there will be no election needed.
Correct.
And
Gotcha.
then,
Two
so,
people for 2 seats,
right, so then if there's 3 or more,
3 or more would trigger the election.
yep.
Okay.
And so the state of Montana sets the timeline, the deadlines for candidate filings. So basically, at 5 o'clock on February 4th, we'll know if we're required to hold an election or not.
Okay.
But in the event that an election is required, the county actually handles all of that for us, and they post all of the legal
The
postings.
elections department.
Yeah, they
Yeah.
handle all of that for
Makes
us.
sense.
And they try to group it, they said usually every year there's a school board election, so they try to group it with that to save on cost, because elections are quite spendy.
Yes.
So
And
they
we
try
pay
to
for
get
it.
us.
We have to pay for it.
Yeah, but they send us the bill, but they try to keep
They
our
they
costs
send us the
low.
bill, but they help
Yes.
the organization of it.
Yes.
Make sure we follow laws, and I think
Mhm.
that they've done that for everything now,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
to cover bases for the entire county for everything. They even do the city stuff too.
Yeah, they've been really helpful.
Okay.
So this is just the first step in the event that it is needed for the 2 seats to conduct a special purpose election by mail.
Are there any more questions for either Rodney or Rebecca? I think this is pretty much straightforward, yeah. Okay, then opening it to the public, comments?
Just a question about the second opening on the board currently. Has that been filled or?
We don't know yet. Roxanne had medical issues, but.
Sorry.
did she?
Yes, it has been filled. Landon Boggs was appointed to fill
Oh.
Landon Boggs was appointed to
Yeah,
fill
but not-
Jim's position, and Tim was appointed to fill Todd's position.
Starting immediately?
But Roxanne is coming up for election.
But Roxanne, who's
Yeah,
still
yeah.
sitting, her term is expiring, so Tim and Roxanne's positions will be open
Yes.
for election.
Yeah.
Sorry. So yes, all the positions are filled, just Landon couldn't make the meeting today.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, otherwise we'll entertain a motion.
Since I'll be up for election, I'll make the motion.
I'll second it even. We have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Thank you. RBCI. Public Relations Agreement.
Yeah, so, if you remember, well, I guess you wouldn't remember, Tim, I keep thinking. But the board, we had, entered into a contract with a PR firm to do a certain portion, go out and do discovery, basically interview people in the district, the commissioners, some board members, that kind of thing. And that's the report that you would have gotten your board packet or is posted online, were all the findings from that. It was very thorough, really good. Some of it, we're already doing. He knew that, we just called it out in there. There's things we can do ourselves moving forward in there that we don't really need help with from them. But once he got that down, Rebecca and I went through it and kind of itemized some things that we really felt we could pull out of here and use their help on. And met with him and talked through this report. And so what came out of that basically is this contract that we have here today, the memorandum, with some specific tasks. A few of the things that we really, I think we've talked about them in the past with the rest of the board were like how are we gonna communicate with the public better? as far as how do we get our messaging out, even if that's just a water main break, you know, somewhere, how do we let people know that we're chlorinating the system, and how do we do that, right? Because right now, we really don't have an avenue other than going down to the post office and posting things, and our Facebook and Instagram is just a place we haven't, the Facebook is actually somehow attached to my personal account for the district, still, but that's, we're gonna sever that and actually create a Facebook page. It was a way we were trying to get some messaging out early on just by ourselves, and so it's about our website, it's about social media, it's about dealing with the newspapers, you know, communicating with the public, our website, and the website actually, all along we wanted to eventually change our website. Rebecca's using a free version right now of, it's very simple, and in order to do some of the things we want to do, like emails, alert type thing, through email, through text messaging, also being ADA compliant. The free version is not ADA compliant. So we looked at upping the game with the current, what do we use right now?
WordPress.
WordPress. And so to use WordPress and to stay in that venue and go to the paid part, for one, would be more expensive, and the support is different, and they didn't really offer the text message alert systems the way we wanted it. So we did find a website provider that is built for like water and sewer districts, things like that. So they already have a text messaging built in, email alert system built in, better way to communicate with people just overall. It's a lot more simplistic. Actually, Evergreen uses it. Big Fork uses it. There's, I don't know, how many are in Montana? I know you probably
There
don't
were
have.
1,500 different districts, but I don't know. in
Yeah, but
Montana.
there's a lot. I mean, we did a training with them and so on, and so, long story short there, that's separate from this contract, but it was part of our discussion in this early on, but we've actually already started converting over. Our old website is still gonna be live until that website is ready to go, for Rebecca to be building that, getting our stuff over on there. Before it goes live, it may not be till February some point, along with the other things they're doing, but we are building that site. It's real reasonable. I think it was like $700 a year or something like that. But they're built for us, you know, for what we do, and it's worked well. So I say all that, so this memorandum here is pretty, you know, there's a lot to it, but the scope of work tasks that we've developed in here, for one, it's a 12-month agreement not to exceed $88,725. That doesn't mean it will spend that much, but it's a not to exceed number, which basically comes out to about $7,394 a month. This memorandum could be terminated by either party within 30-day written notice. So like if we felt we kind of got all we wanted out of them, you know, in 6 months, and they helped us get all this stuff done, they helped us with templates, they helped us, you know, as far as our new newsletter templates and things like that, how the calendar of getting things out to people and just helping us get things set up, we could always terminate it. But I feel probably a year myself is, you know, by the time we do have a lot to do with this second phase. We want to do some more public stuff as far as that goes, educating the public on the infrastructure projects and different things like that we're doing here. So that all of that will be coming about, and so it'll be helpful to have them on board to to get that out to the newspapers in the right way that we see fit to get it out there, right?
Have you used a PR firm before this?
We have never, that I know, not since I've been here, and I don't think, we really have never had a project this big, right? So,
That's
or
true.
even anywhere similar to this. So this is kind of our,
Yeah,
aside from when they created the sewer district, and,
tiny growing up.
they built it, yeah, so it's, it's a big deal.
Yeah,
We were definitely, I would say, behind the eight ball as far as dealing with newspapers and developing stories with them, getting, the engineers can do like stuff like you see on the wall when we had the open houses, but, getting the word out to people to come out to those, to, it's just, we felt we were definitely behind the eight ball on that. I mean, we put our own flyers out, you try to get things out to people, you put it on the bill cards, you do all that stuff, but there's just, with this project this size and all this stuff going on with a project this size, we definitely realize there's a lot more that we can do, and so I think that's the goal, is to be able to do that, but then also show us how to do that. For some of it we'll be able to do ourselves.
I agree. Yeah.
How about the cost? Well, some of that was included in the estimate from RPA as part of the overall project.
Yeah, RPA will still continue, yes, exactly. If RPA doesn't need to do it, like there are costs that RPA, we already have a contact, like this, doing these boards, and when they come up to do the advertisements things, there's parts of the budget that are already in there for that, but if they don't have to do it, then they obviously aren't gonna charge us for it. So there is a little crossover there.
So RBCI can then take the stuff that's out there being developed by Pasha and Associates, and they can help create content, storyboards, things like that to better educate the public of, and it's not just the members of the county, the sewer district, it's really countywide, statewide.
Countywide, exactly.
Well, it's worldwide now. It's if it's Instagram, it's worldwide.
Yeah, but it's both, right? So like if we,
Right.
that's what I'm saying, like we don't really have a good way to just on a simple thing, like, hey, we're gonna chlorinate the water system.
I'd just take my phone and click it and post it on Facebook like you're doing, and that's that's a different world right now, and
Yeah.
so, and you can't expect Rebecca to be, the guru on this type of stuff either.
She's pretty darn
But
good.
so much time.
Right,
It's-
there's lots of things to do, it's an element of
Yeah.
that didn't exist a year ago or 2 years ago as
Right.
well, times change. So, Mike, may I ask a question?
Yes.
So we're capped at 88,725 for this. If we only end up billables of 53,000, that's all where we have it and everything. And I assume that you wouldn't put the number out there. We do have it in budgeting.
In the project, that's what I'm saying.
It's
that
in the
there's
project
crossover.
budget,
Right.
not the general fund for the Lakeside Water Sewer District.
Right, we have money in the general fund operationally
Okay.
to be able to do this stuff, right? But there's a crossover, there's money that generally we would probably continue to go to RPA and say, hey, we need you to get some video and whatever.
Right.
We need to do this in a newspaper and whatever, so there's money there that's gonna help with this, so it'll be billable through the project.
Okay.
But there's also some general funds that we can use, just operational funds too,
Okay.
because there's a portion of this that we're doing not just for the project, right?
Well,
So-
yeah, that's what I would say, is I think it's more than just, reacting to what's been out there on the project.
Right.
That's where a lot of the press has come in lately, but it's
Yeah.
about the chlorination, there's these other, if you wanna call it general fund type of pieces to it, that the everyday user needs to know what's going on, and and how we've gotten there, and where we're going, and why we decided to do this and that and the other things, so.
Yeah.
Okay, so you do have the funding for it.
Yeah.
So that's all I have for the questions right now.
Do you have any questions, Kathy?
No, I don't believe so at this point.
Open to the public, do you have any questions or
Yes, Mary Flowers again.
comments?
I have concerns that this is a significant expenditure, given the fact that you recently raised rates on the ratepayers in the district, and that it is still unknown how much of a rate increase is coming for ratepayers. You've completed your rate study, you've billed the county for it in terms of the funding. It's not been released. I think this again should be tabled until a full scope of understanding of what this $58 million or larger project is going to cost ratepayers. It's, you're moving forward with a lot of commitments with the public not having the understanding of what they're going to be charged for this.
Thank you.
I'd like to speak as well, Cameron Dexter. First, I think that having a community advisory board, which I'm reading in your strategic plan, is a wonderful idea. I'm wondering how the stakeholders were chosen for these interview processes, because it's all county employees, 2 board members, I guess previous board members now, David Bettbite, who has been involved in obviously the Lakeside Summer Chamber of Commerce, and then what I'm assuming are 2 customers, the Cherry Hill Yacht Club, HOA, and the Tamarack Brew Company. I think it would have been interesting to reach out at random to ratepayers throughout Lakeside and Summers and get their perspective on things, people that aren't necessarily in the know about any of it from one side or the other, and see how they were taking in the information. But the community advisory board, I think that could really be a proactive step.
Thank you. Yeah, I think we left it up to the company to come up with a solution or an idea, and so we left it up to them who they wanted to contact, where they felt they're gonna get the information from that they felt they needed, so. I'm not sure, I have one other question, we do, Rodney, and I'm not sure if you can, because you had maybe a private discussion with that, but just about rate increases generally in the area about other districts that you've heard that, I know Mary, you mentioned always the cost increase, and I think we're hearing that other districts they're not different, they're in the same boat as we are. Other districts have to raise rates. They may go slightly different in process than we do, because they may not have these improvements that we have right now, but there's other rate increases out there. I'm not sure if you can expand on that, or if that's something.
Yeah, well, we definitely talk to other water and sewer districts, because we're always sharing information, and so we know what the other water and sewer districts are doing, and they're all going through, the whole state, actually, in Montana Rural Water Conference in March. There'll be a new report out for the last 3 years on the water and sewer rates in Montana. So they do a study every 2 years, I think it is. So the new report will be out on water and sewer rates, and I think that'll be pretty eye-opening to what's going on in the whole state. But everybody, that we're talking to they're all going through a lot of the same things, and rates are definitely increasing, and whether they're going through changes in their processes or because of inflation or whatever it might be, they're realizing that they're behind the 8 ball. They've been notorious for not increasing rates when they should have increased rates, and they're all in the kind of a similar situation. We obviously have a big project going on, but again, our rates, without the project, just because of 2020, would have just the inflation factor over the last 4 or 5 years has been through the roof, and we all see that in everyday life. Yeah, and also I'll reiterate that the PR firm did choose the people they wanted to talk to. So that was not, they recommended those people, so.
Thank you for clarifying that.
And your idea, the other stuff in this, just to, there's an agenda, right, in this memorandum that we're looking at today to pass for the first 12 months. But there's things we've identified in here, like potentially a community group, advisory group, you know, things like that, that those are things we can do on our own, right? So there's things in this report that we've looked at and, you know, kind of circled and said, hey, we can start working on that as we staff up or as we, get through some other things so that we can concentrate on some of those things. But there's some good stuff in there that we feel that we'll continue to discuss as a board, you know, about maybe how to move forward with some of those things, but those wouldn't require RBCI to help us with, or to pay somebody to help us with that. Those are things we could potentially do on our own. These are just things we identified to say, hey, if you can get us going in the right direction here, we think it's a good thing. And as far as waiting to do it, until people are better educated on something, well, this is all about being able to educate people so that we can get the word out better. And so I don't know why we want to wait on it.
I don't think you should. I mean, prior to the board, coming onto the board, I tried to learn, okay, what's going on, what's been going on. You know, I was limited to the website, your personal Facebook page, which
It's not my
pictures.
personal page, it's just attached
I
to
know
it.
it's not, I just give you a bad time. I mean, it had great pictures of the "We're closed for 4th of July" posters on the front door. You know, so, and then it was, you know, the Interlake news articles that were out there. I mean, those are really the majority. That's kind of the only way you can learn about what's going on here. And things have evolved, the world has evolved, the issues have evolved really, really fast, from what I can see. And so I do think that that's an important piece to tell the story of what's going on here and why it's going on. And like I say, your guys' jobs this is not your bailiwick, but to get some assistance to get going with it is, I think, a very proactive thing to do, to be honest with you. So not that you're gonna become, you know, Instagram stars or anything like that, or influencers, but that's not the whole idea. You know, I actually still, even though I live here, I still follow, like, on Instagram, the city of Kalispell, and so, you know, I do actually learn a lot what's going on there, what they've got going on for different things, you know, constructions and stuff like that. So there is a lot of value to it, that social media piece and stuff. The world's changed.
Yep.
Well, if there's no other questions for the board or among us here, if you want to make a motion?
Second.
I made the motion, I guess. Okay.
I think
I can't.
Usually made
All
it,
right.
take a second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Thank you. Rodney, you want to talk about some general manager / staff?
I really don't have anything this month. I mean, that's all, I put it all into this.
Okay. So, how about Rebecca, do you have any? How about individual board members? Do you guys have any comments separately or?
Did you pick this PR company, this particular one?
Oh, it was recommended to us by, we looked at Rocky, is it Rocky Mountain? Rocky Mountain here, which was in the valley, one of the, that's used to dealing with municipalities and MCA.
No, Big Sky.
Big Sky, Big Sky. Yeah, and so we were recommended this company by them actually because they were too busy. We actually were looking for somebody locally, just because they know, you know, maybe more familiar with what we're dealing with, you know, with newspapers and things like that. But this company is out of Idaho and they have an office in Helena, and they also do things here, you know, in the valley also. very, very good company.
They'll be able to stay with us.
They work with MDOT a lot, and they're a very large company, but the office is fairly small in Helena that we're dealing with.
Okay, if nothing else, otherwise next meeting is scheduled right now for January 20th, 2026. It will be first in next year, so. With that, I guess if nothing else, we can adjourn.
Ben, do you know when the February, well, I can look on
Thank you very much.
the calendar.